All right, good evening and welcome everyone to the Area 51 Super Speedway Truck Series. We will be running tonight at Daytona International Speedway. 75 laps on the docket for tonight. Looking forward to, I believe, the first race we have of the playoffs. Back again, it's me, Boomer Logan. I've been absent a couple weeks, but excited to be back to call the action for the playoffs for the rest of the season. Should be a lot of fun. Obviously, starting it off here at Daytona. We'll switch back and forth. We got an off week next week, and then we'll be back at Talladega 2 weeks from now. But plenty of cool action. We'll be looking to see Gabe Butler, J.D. Crow, pull up the rest of them. We got a bunch of them. So, yeah, Gabe Butler, J.D. Crow, B.K. Anderson, Gary Sipinski, Vicente Guerrero, Eric Laurie, Todd Siebels, and Dean Wilkinson all making it into the playoff field, the top 8 in the championship standings, all reset to a even score of 2,000 bonus points, and we'll be competing for the championship here for the rest of the season. So excited to be back, and we have back again with us this week is Maxwell Caldwell. He'll be helping me call the action tonight. How are you doing tonight, Maxwell?
Doing good, Boomer. Thank you for having me. Glad to have you back after 2 weeks. You put me with Guy L there, put me with the boss, put me under pressure. But man, it was a good time getting to call races with him again. But glad to be back with you, Boomer, and glad to see these trucks in action again. These trucks, man, they've been so racy all season long, and now we get to a very, very, very pivotal part of the season, the start of the playoffs. And in like the Monday night series where I run, when you've got an assortment of different tracks, the first race may not be as intimidating, but when you know you're at a plate race, you can make or break your season right here, race one of the playoffs. So a lot of guys are going to have some differing strategies. You may see these team boot knocker guys, quite a few of them are in the field. You may see them up front trying to control the race, lead laps, get those all inclusive bonus points. But you got some TW guys there too. They're going to probably hang out and try to just be there at the end. So it'll be interesting to see how this race starts out tonight. Oh, and let's not forget to mention that there's a whole field of trucks outside of those top 8 that are just here to do one thing, and that's win a race. So they may start taking a lot more risks. So we're going to be in for a treat tonight, I believe, Boomer.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun this evening. Definitely looking forward to it tonight. Again, kicking off the playoffs will be quite a bit of fun for the next 4 weeks here on Green White Checker TV for the Area 51 Super Speedway Truck Series. So, got an early morning start here today. Looks like we've got about a air temperature of 69 degrees and a track temperature of 75 degrees currently. So waking up in the bright Florida sun, and we'll get a little bit of a chance to shake it up a little bit as far as the handling goes on the cars. A little bit cooler track temperature, maybe a little bit more grip versus hot and slick. So hopefully able to handle just a little bit better here. Obviously Daytona, where the super speedway, where tires really do make somewhat of a difference versus at Talladega. So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. But looking probably again as usual somewhere around 20 laps or so, maybe 19, 20. Maybe if you can stretch it even farther, 21, 22 laps. But it'll be interesting to see how the fuel strategy plays out here tonight.
Oh, absolutely. These guys, I can't keep up with the strategies because, man, one caution just changes everything with these truckers, and so many different teams do it a different way. I know the team boot knocker guys really like to come in early and get the pit stops done and try to get back on track organized, where some of the other guys will wait till the absolute last minute to pit. And, one yellow will completely change that up. But, right now in qualifying, we see something kind of scary for the field. In qualifying so far, the top 6, all team boot knocker guys. So I guess you can tell what their strategy is going to be tonight, Boomer. But as qualifying wraps up, we see Sebastian Marin is on the pole. And now it's time to see what our starting lineup looks like tonight.
As you mentioned it, we do have Sebastian Marin on point for the race tonight, who is outside his teammate in Gabe Butler, followed by Jimmy Crow Jr. and Joe Delevecchia on the second row. Gary Sipinski and J.D. Crow will make up the third row, followed by Vicente Guerrero and Eric Laurie, 2 of our playoff contenders, as well as Randy Miner and another playoff contender, B.K. Anderson, rounding out the top 10. Les Levy will start on the 6th row on the inside, followed by Keith Horner to his outside. Pull up the second page here, and in 13th, we have Robert DuPont with David Overstreet to his outside. James Moen will start in 15th with Robert Jordan to his outside. Tom Dixon and Kyle Heath will make up the 9th row of the starting grid for tonight. Robert Rock and Jay Hillard make up your top 20. In 21st, we have Andy Brigante with Bob Fitzgerald to his outside. Bud Steele and Dan Harrington fill out the second page of our grid here. And we'll see who else we got. We've got Jason Adams and Todd Siebels, followed by Richard Sanchez and Dean Wilkinson and Charles Sanchez to bring up the field for tonight. So 29 entries tonight should be a good time. Looking forward to it. Again, got those 8 drivers of BK Anderson, Gabe Butler, JD Crow, Gary Sipinski, Vicente Guerrero, Eric Laurie, Todd Siebels, and Dean Wilkinson, that we will be looking for tonight to see how they do in the playoff standings. Obviously, kind of you've already mentioned it, but kind of a split strategy so far. Looks like some of the Team Bootnaka Esports guys are kind of attacking early and getting to the front, whereas some of the TW Motorsports guys kind of their typical MO of starting in the back in the pack and electing not to take a lap.
Absolutely. So, got a lot of different strategies. A lot of people starting in different places, but you know who I'm really going to have my eye on tonight? We know we've got these 8 playoff guys, right? We know they're going to be racing hard and racing their own races, but I'm interested to see in these next 4 races who's going to take advantage of some of these drivers kind of taking it easy, right? These guys are going to be points racing the next 4 weeks. They don't have to get the wins, but they got to finish the race. So I'd be expecting a lot of these Team Bootnaka guys, lead a lap, drop to the back, yada, yada. I'm interested to see who's going to just throw caution to the wind and going to go out here and possibly pick up their first Super Speedway win in Area 51 tonight and the next 3 weeks. I feel like we may see a lot of new faces up front because of how aggressive they'll be and how hungry they'll be to get a win.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see the field taking to the grid, or rolling off the grid, I should say, moving down the back stretch for the single pace lap. Back of the field starting to catch up to the rest of the field to get ready to go. And I apologize, I'm trying to figure out, we've got a little bit, some graphic issues here so far. Going to try and see if I can figure out what's going on there. So you guys don't have to watch that all race, and so we don't have to watch it on the broadcast here either, but I apologize. Trying to see if on the back end we can figure that out, but regardless, excited. We'll see the pace car now rolling through turn number 3, and we will be getting ready to go here. See a plane taking off in the background too, which is always fun. The airport right behind Daytona International Speedway. Got a couple people chiming in so far. Appreciate everyone that has tuned in already, and we hope you enjoy tonight's broadcast.
Absolutely. We see the pace car now pulls in. The drivers are in the Geico restart zone, and the green flag has been waved. These trucks taking just a minute to get up to speed, but here they come. The 23 is Sebastian Marin, not a playoff driver, and he's our previous champion of the series. He's looking to come up front and just win the next 4 races. So he's going to take a commanding lead off into turn 1, but look for him to work with these teammates very early on as the outside lane starts to build out of 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Early on to point out, he is not a playoff driver, though he has teammates who are in the playoffs, and I will be willing to bet he is going to do everything he can to ensure that that championship goes home with one of his teammates to stay in the team shop there. So definitely unfortunate he had to miss a couple races, and I believe had some technical difficulties and some others, but Seabass just barely missed the cut by about 30 points for the playoffs. So we have 8 drivers other than him that will be competing for that championship. So we will not have a repeat winner here this season.
Absolutely, and looks like Gabe Butler could have possibly got that first lap led. He did. That's a valuable bonus point for Gabe there. He didn't get the pole, so no playoff driver got the pole for that bonus point. And Boomer, you're going to hear me talk about this the next 4 weeks because they just absolutely matter. When these championships come down to 1 or 2 points, you've got to think, Did I lead a lap that race? Did I lead the most? Did I qualify on pole? Did I do everything I could to get the absolute maximum amount of points possible? So Gabe Butler up here leading the lap and looking to lead another one. That's super important, but it looks like J.D. Crow is going to come up here on the outside, and he's going to have something to say about that.
Yeah, for now, it looks like Gabe Butler still grabbing another lap lead there, but J.D. Crow, another one of his teammates, again, that is in the playoffs, as well as Gabe Butler, the second truck, I meant to say Eric Laurie, the second truck in that outside row there, all playoff contenders so far, as well as the 23 of Sebastian Marin. So we've got a couple of guys in this outside lane lined up that are going to be trying to push for the win tonight and see what they can do to increase their playoff advantage, as again, the points have been completely reset for all 8 of our playoff drivers.
Absolutely. And, Boomer, one thing I'm noticing early on, I really expected to see somebody like Gabe Butler, J.D. Crow, and those guys kind of lead a lap and drop to the back a little bit, save some fuel, be there at the end. But they're not doing that. They want to try to get every lap led that they possibly can. And just look through our top 10 here and look at how many playoff drivers we have up here. They are risking it all early on in these playoffs. It won't take but just one wrong move to take them completely out of this 4-race chase. So they need to be very, very careful. But we see the 071 giving a little bit of an interesting bump there to the 5 down the backstretch, but trying to get him that lap led as they sail off into turn 3.
Sailing off into turn 3, and really not a ton happening. Obviously, really can't pass a ton here at Daytona, at least not nearly as aggressively as you can maybe at Talladega Superspeedway. So just kind of being patient, riding in line. These Team Bootknocker guys, again, we've mentioned, trying to do what they can to control this race. Obviously, there is a long way to go. 75 laps does not seem like a lot, but lap times exceed 50 seconds here at the World Center of Racing in Daytona. So it does go by fast, but it also doesn't. But early on, so Maxwell, what would your strategy be as far as following maybe the TW Motorsports guys in the back, dropping back and just being patient and quiet? Or would you rather be up there with the Team Bootnaka guys and BK Anderson trying to contend and push for that lead?
Man, from running last season and being in the playoffs, we were running with Team Bootknocker. We always had that mentality, let's go try to lead a lap and then let's head to the back. Save that fuel. Fuel mileage was so important in these races. But now I've noticed this season it's been such a completely different ball game, right? We see these guys running all kinds of different places, the majority of them staying up front. I think they've realized how important these bonus points are, because even hanging out in the back, you can get swept up in an incident pretty easily. So these guys are looking, and you see these Team Bootknocker guys, they're swapping around. There's the 071 now, going to try to return the favor for him, get all these guys a lap led. Team Bootknocker looking to try to fight amongst themselves this season to get that championship. But, man, to answer your question, I really don't know. I mean, there's pros and cons to both, but more times than not, you've got such a big risk in the back. If something does happen and a caution doesn't come out, you're really trying to play catch up and you're having to burn all that fuel you were trying to save. I think I would like to just kind of not be the guy leading per se, but I'd like to be about where Gabe Butler is, just kind of riding it out, or where Sebastian Marin is, just riding it out there and just trying to be in that bottom lane and just be in the mix. That way I don't lose just tons of time.
Yeah, as we see, it looks like the 37 of Keith Horner getting a little bit outside there. Might be trying to bout to the back, not sure, but he did push that 32 truck of BK Anderson up to a lap lead. Looks like the 071 also getting his lap lead there that last time. He is going to jump into that outside line. So we've got a group now of about 22 cars here. We'll kind of cycle the cameras through here just to show you who all is in this main pack, all the way back to, I believe, about Bud Steele here. Then there's a little bit of a breakup, and the rest of the TW Motorsports guys are a little bit single file beyond here. Looks like Robert Rock, Richard Sanchez, Charles Sanchez, Todd Siebels, and Dean Wilkinson all working together here at the back of the pack. So not a ton to comment on just yet. Obviously, so kind of early on in the race, probably about just a little bit under halfway through this first fuel run here with 8 laps in the books. So we'll be looking to see how the strategies are going to evolve tonight as far as pits and as far as who gets caught up in what I guarantee will eventually come being either the big one or a couple single car or multiple car incidents.
Absolutely, and Like you said, it'll be very interesting to see how hard these guys race. I've noticed that we really haven't tried making that third lane work. Almost every week, Boomer, in the regular season, we saw people jumping up to that third lane and making major time. And we've got to remember, last time we were here at Daytona, we saw not a lot of people jump there early on. But once one or two cars did, they rocketed from like 6th or 7th in line all the way up to the lead in about a half lap. So there's definitely speed in that third lane. But I think these guys are just racing super respectful tonight, right? They know that there's guys running for a championship, and they know that their time to win is at the end of the race, not the beginning. So a lot of these non-playoff drivers, they don't have anything to lose just riding right now. They don't need to be leading laps, leading the most laps. They don't have to worry about bonus points. The way their season is going to go, the points will come as they battle for ninth. But these playoff guys, I'm kind of noticing Team Bootnocker kind of running pretty hard up here. It's like they're trying to see who's going to get that most laps led bonus point, right? And you never know, Boomer. This championship could come down to one singular point. I've seen crazier things. So I know I've seen some Area 51 championships come down to 2 points to decide the champ. So you definitely have to go and get everything you can get. And those TW guys trying to rally around Dean Wilkinson there, they're going for opting to not get as many bonus points tonight. But who knows? These Team Bootknocker guys could get in a wreck and lose those elusive 3 bonus points for a clean race, where those TW guys could get a better finish and get the 3 bonus points. So strategies all over the place.
Sorry, we got someone there sideways off of turn 3-4, but luckily they keep rolling. So, yeah, you're right, definitely at the back there, just kind of hanging out. Todd Siebels and Dean Wilkinson there. The last 2 cars in the pack right now, like you mentioned, 2 of the TW Motorsports guys in the chase that will not be getting lap sped points, at least for now, and just kind of laying at the back.
Yes, but these TW guys, man, I've watched them race in multiple leagues, so this is not their only one. And these guys are veteran plate racers. They know what they're doing. And, you know, they're just trying to say, hey, Bootknocker's up here doing this. Let's do something different. Because if you think about it, the majority of our top 8 is Team Bootknocker versus TW. So 2 teams really going to be duking it out with maybe a couple independent drivers in there. But between the 2 teams, they're like, okay, if they want to be up there, let's do the opposite and let's see which one works. I like the call. You got to do something different to beat your competitors, right?
Yeah, definitely got to try something to at least do something different. You know, if you're going to run the same strategy as them, sometimes it's not always going to work out. But if you can try to leapfrog them in some strategy, that makes a huge difference as far as, you know, trying to contend for wins and go out and win this championship. So it'll be interesting to see so far working on lap number 12. Still pretty quiet, and I think that's going to stay at least for a little while. I mean, maybe I know on Tuesdays, Gael and I are very lucky at commentator's curse and you know, saying things won't happen or will happen, and then all chaos absolutely breaks loose. But so far, for the most part, like you said, it's kind of been quiet. Really, BK Anderson's the only one up here in the playoff run that's kind of been competing, at least as far as, you know, shuffling it up in the mix with these Team Bootknocker guys, but got a couple guys in the playoffs so far as they run. We do have J.D. Crow are in first place right now, Gabe Butler in second, Eric Laurie in third, and BK Anderson now sitting currently fifth, second car in that outside line. So those are 4 of our top playoff drivers. We do also have Gary Sipinski back there in 10th position. Let me look down the running order. We do also have Todd Siebels and Dean Wilkinson in 26th and 27th right now. And let's see, where is Vicente Guerrero? That's one I missed, I believe. He is sitting in the 12th position right now. So we'll try to keep an eye on that as much as we can. Apologies, we don't have a graphic for that to show you who is in the playoffs right now, but we will be working on that, have that for next week's broadcast. So next week will be off week. It'll be the week after. We'll have some more graphics for you guys as far as playoff drivers go, just to see who's where and who's doing what, but we'll try to keep an eye on those guys as much as we can throughout the night. So getting close here to our first set of pit stops. Are you thinking that they're going to try and stretch this first round as much as they can, or do you think you just try to break it up as evenly as possible, knowing that you're probably around 20 laps-ish, you're probably going to have one run that's going to be shorter than the rest. But what are you thinking on this first fuel strategy here, Maxwell?
I would honestly, in my personal opinion, if I were out there running, I'd love to try to run this first run as long as I can, because what that does is that gives me options later in the race if this goes green. That gives me options that as these pit stops go along, say this race goes green the whole time, we can then go on that last pit stop, pit as early as we can to make the fuel window and put the absolute least amount of fuel that we have to in it, where other guys are going to spend an extra second or two on pit road having to put more fuel than you are. And that could be a big decision maker, but you have to be careful with that. If a lot of guys come in and pit and you want to wait another 2-3 laps, you're out there without as big of a pack and without as much draft help. And in the long run, you're losing more time because of that than you would just pitting earlier. So I think it's going to be one of those monkey see, monkey do things. It's just going to be who's going to be the first one to come down pit road. But we've got a little bit of a shakeup here in that outside lane. I'm noticing that 32 and 78, they are making their way behind Eric Laurie to give that outside lane a huge push down the backstretch. These guys getting racy, knowing pit stops are coming up. They're trying to get a little bit better track position before they have to come down.
And you did see on the ticker on the bottom that someone was actually on pit road. That was Jason Adams. He's actually just now joining the race. And Sarah mentioned that it's always funny when your husband actually turns his computer off right before the race starts. So unfortunate for Jason, but it looks like he is able to at least rejoin the race, and will probably be finishing somewhere around, I think he's 15 laps down currently. So that's definitely a tough one. Always no fun to have technical difficulties for sure, but he's going to kind of be alone on an island here probably for most of the race tonight. So see what he can do to potentially get a couple of laps back here. But yeah, definitely unfortunate for sure. But still, again, working on lap number 17. So again, we're going to be getting pretty close to pit stops here. So we'll have to see what is going to happen. Probably start to see some of these guys. Oh, a little bit of a shake up there. Looks like the 031 maybe. No, excuse me. Who is... I think the 411 is actually supposed to be the 031 of Tom Dixon. So he's getting a little squirrely there in that outside line. But we're probably starting to see some of these guys making the move towards the inside lane as we get close to pit stops here.
Absolutely. And, we know that we're not at Talladega anymore, right? We're at Daytona. It's not much smaller, but it's just a little bit smaller. And even though this is the newer surface, this surface is starting to get older, right? Daytona is still a handling racetrack. We've got to remember that. So as these guys are racing around here, as we see the 5 almost clip the apron there and get a little loose behind the 071, some of these guys will have to ask, when are they going to take tires? I would assume this first stop, not a soul is going to try to take tires under green. But as this race goes on, handling is going to start getting worse and worse and worse as these tires start getting really hot and start getting a little bit of wear to them. And it may not make a huge difference, but it could be the difference at the end of the race if we get a caution and they take tires, of who can maneuver their car a little better, who can move it around and actually make the passes, and who turns the wheel and gets loose like we see the 5 do, right? So one thing I'm watching, though, right now, Boomer, is this 32 and this 78. I think the plan is the 78 is wanting to push the 32 ahead so that he can also get ahead of his teammates, so he can get in that bottom lane. Look at Team Bootknocker. They're 5 cars deep in that bottom. They are set up, ready for pit stops. And here they come, as we call it. And the 78's going to stay out. This is different, but he's got the 23 with him. But we got plenty of cars on pit road, Boomer.
Yeah, let's see. Looks like everyone gets slowed up. Oh, no, there's one car way off the pace. Is that, no, not Robert Jordan. Bob Fitzgerald getting way off into the grass there, unfortunately. But we do have Gabe Butler, Jimmy Crow Jr., Joe Delevecchia, J.D. Crow, Eric Laurie, among others, down here on pit lane. We'll see how these guys shuffle out. First takers here on lap number 19 coming to lap number 20. We will jump back to the front of the field here. Again, being now led by B.K. Anderson and Gary Sipinski. All these guys were pretty much trapped on the outside lane there and really didn't have a choice, even if they wanted to come down to pit road. And you'll see all these guys kind of a land grab getting down to pit road, trying to get slowed down. Oh, Sebastian Marin. Wow, that was aggressive. How many spots did he probably just grabbed like 4 or 5 spots getting down pit road.
Absolutely. Sebastian Marin, always great down pit road, but we have seen him speed on entry before, so it may be something to watch to see if he did get a penalty. But, as he goes a little too deep in the box, had to back it up. That's going to cost him a little time that you don't want. But definitely got some guys here having trouble in this group getting on pit road. We see the 7 back there having to back up and look at the spot Sebastian's going to lose from just having to back up there. But majority of these guys had clean stops. Now the goal is to get out here in a big pack and really start making time.
Yeah, so we'll jump back to our leaders here. Actually, technically BK Anderson, but we'll jump back to the guys who have actually pitted. You'll see them here, single file, nose to tail, most of the Team Bootnaka Esports guys, trying to get back up and around. They should have enough momentum to get back towards the front of the field. If not, they'll kind of cycle in here, probably somewhere between, it looks like between Sebastian Marin and the 14 of Vicente Guerrero. So definitely going to have some head of steam as they get to this pack here, but they are too wide. So looks like the Team Bootnaka Esports guys are just going to find their teammates and jump back in line here, all in the outside line.
That'll be a power line as these packs are a little separated. Now the goal is, if there's a gap between any of these packs, let's work together, let's push hard, and let's make it where there's less contenders for this race win. You hate to sound like that. You want to, it's a little bit of contact with the leader.
Wow, so I believe that's Bob. Yeah, Bob Fitzgerald here is actually the first car in the inside line. He is on the verge of going a lap down. He must have had a speeding penalty. He had 48 seconds. So he took fuel only, but had a 40-second penalty for probably speeding or too fast entering. So he's kind of in the mix here. And wow, there's a lot of damage there to the left side. Let's see if we can grab the interview cam. Yeah, that's a lot of damage to that 78 truck already, just from a mistake from Bob Fitzgerald, who was a lap car at the time. So unfortunate playoff implications, not something that you would want to be a part of typically. He's just trying to race to get his lap back, but unfortunately making contact with the leader and also one of our playoff contenders.
Absolutely. Now, the good thing for Gary is going to be this. He's got Gabe Butler that just pulled in front of him.
Yeah,
if he can ride in line there and make speed, then he's going to be fine, because he still should have that fast repair that he can take if that damage is holding him up just enough. And he may even wait until the very last stop of the race to get that damage fixed. But he'll definitely want that fixed for the end of the run for sure. But very unfortunate, man. Gary has had some bad luck, it seems like, this season. Not only here on Thursdays, but even on Monday nights. He's one of my teammates over there. And, man, if he didn't have bad luck, I don't think he would have any luck at all. So Gary's going to try to make the most of it, though. He did get in the playoffs after some unfortunate events last week that cost him. So we'll see how he's running. Had a great pit stop. Let's see how this damage makes his truck handle here in the coming laps.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of a gamble, because if you wait too long to take it, you don't always get that late race caution. There's not always, as much as we love to pride ourselves on being green, white, checker TV, you don't always get to see that at the end of the race. So there may be an opportunity. You want to make sure that you can still at least take that fast repair, but it's definitely a gamble of how long you wait, because if you wait, if you don't wait at all, you take it too early, then you get wrecked, then you don't have it, unfortunately, and then your night is over. But you want to be in a position where you take it early enough that it still makes a difference, or early enough that you don't miss out, and not getting a chance to take it from the caution, if there is no late caution. So I'm going to take a second here. We'll try and update you on all of our drivers here in the playoffs. Obviously, we've got the one truck of Gabe Butler currently leading the race, with Gary Sipinski, his teammate, just behind him. We do also have J.D. Crow here in the playoffs, currently sitting P number 5, with Eric Laurie, his teammate, directly behind him as well. Vicente Guerrero also lined up behind him, as well as the 32 of BK Anderson, who's now being scored 7th here on the inside row. So that is a lot of our playoff drivers here in the top 10. We do also have running back to Todd Siebels here in the 15th position, and his other teammate looking for Dean Wilkinson right here back in 19th position. So I believe that should cover all 8 of our drivers so far. here in the playoffs, but most of them, for the most part, hanging out around the top 10, inside the top 10. Most of the TW guys still hanging back just a little bit, but quiet here so far. Gotten through one green flag stop, and probably looking another maybe 15 laps or so to do it all over again, Maxwell.
Absolutely. And there's one thing, Boomer, that I'm really impressed with in this race so far. 8 playoff drivers, green flag pit stops, the chaos that can cause coming in a big group like it is, and all of them are still in the main pack and still in the lead draft. They did not lose time. I was worried about the TW guys on that stop being far enough back that they might lose time, but they are still right there in striking distance, just hanging out. So kudos to the playoff guys. We may have had 1 or 2 cars with penalties or different things, maybe keeping them out of the lead pack, but for the most part, they are here. And so if we keep this up tonight, Boomer, we could have 8 playoff trucks at the end of this, all going for the first win of the playoffs.
Yes, we got most of our drivers, like you said, in this main pack here. Obviously, we've got Bob Fitzgerald, who's one of the few lap cars in this front pack. I believe Charles Sanchez is actually on a different in a different pack as well. So these guys back here are all not I guess not on a different strategy, but oh shoot, we got a crash. Let's see if we can go back. We've got our first caution of the night. We're going to jump to that real quick. Looks like something happened with Bob Fitzgerald as we set back to a couple cars that were about 15 seconds off of the lead pack here. See if we can see what happens. Couple cars going sideways. I don't know. Oh, looks like Bob Fitzgerald might have gotten caught on the nose of the 32 truck. Wow, I don't think oh, that was a hard hit there. I am going to pause that and pull that back. Let's see if we can see who was in that. That was the 55. Oh no, that was the 55 of Dean Wilkinson, one of our championship contenders here in the playoffs. So he unfortunately gets collected by he runs into the 08, I should say. Really had nowhere to go after the 08 hit that inside wall, and yeah, probably a lot of engine damage for the 55 here of Dean Wilkinson. That's very unfortunate.
Absolutely. It's not good at all. And what did we say earlier in the broadcast? Just because you're in the back doesn't mean you're going to miss the wrecks. It's a chance you take. We saw the 2 different strategies. This one not working well for Dean. He's got his 3 bonus points now gone. He's got Team Bootknocker guys leading laps and going to try to get that most laps led bonus point. Now he's got to take his fast repair. So now the question is, what does Dean do? Because you can't win the championship in this first race, but you can definitely dig a deep enough hole that you cannot recover the next 3 if you're not careful here.
Yeah, it looks like just kind of getting caught off the nose of the 32 truck here, unfortunately. See if we can grab one more view. That's of the 08 spinning and flipping everywhere. See if we can grab one more view of that from the front of the 32, if we could pull it up here quick enough. Pause it here for just a second here. Grab BK and back on the roof cam. All right, here we go. A little bit of slow-mo action here on the front of the 32. Looks like just got a push kind of gone wrong here, unfortunately, but gonna not end anyone's night so far, because I believe the 08 and the 55 should have a couple fast repairs left to go. And while we're looking at, actually looks like a bit of net code. Interesting. Yeah, it looked like it might have been a little bit of net code there. The 32 really not even getting close to that 08 bumper. But all right, so we'll jump back live here. We're missing a little bit of action on pit road here, as we do see the 1 truck of Gabe Butler now leading everyone off of pit road. Joe Delevecchia, Gary Sipinski, JD Crow, BK Anderson, your top 5 coming out of the pits. I believe the only car there that would stayed out might have been Charles Sanchez, so he's going to take the opportunity to not pit. He's got about 10 laps into his fuel run, but he is going to take the wave around here so that he can get back onto the lead lap. So we'll see if that strategy works out for him, try to keep that updated. Him and his brother, Richard Sanchez, were both 1 lap down, but it's kind of interesting. Brothers actually splitting their strategies. They were both 1 lap down, Charles Sanchez electing to get back on to the lead lap, and Richard Sanchez is going to pit and stay one lap down. So it'll be interesting for sure. This kind of does throw a little bit of a wrench here in the fuel strategy, though, doesn't it, Maxwell, with caution here at lap 28.
Absolutely. And what I'm thinking of here is we talked about it. If you wanted to take tires, you wanted to wait for a caution. The way this race is going, I mean, I don't know that we'll get another one. I mean, they've been running fairly clean, but we know cautions breed cautions. But notice these guys on the apron already, saving every drop of fuel they can. These guys know they're up front. They know they're burning the most, so they're taking the absolute shortest distance around this racetrack, and they're saving as much fuel as they humanly can while under caution, because they have a number they're wanting to hit. And knowing some of these guys up front, they're probably looking at, when they pit this time, how they can set up their last stop. They're probably looking at their last stop right now. But we do see the field now coming double file here, it looks like. Lights are off on the pace car, so we should be going green this time. Look for these guys in the inside lane to take full advantage of that apron and continue to save fuel. What a great camera shot we had there, seeing these guys come right across the camera. But look for these guys to save some fuel, and look for maybe even more mistakes in this race. I was going to say with that wreck there, I don't even know if that was net code as much as it was. It looked like Bob Fitzgerald there just got down in that tri-oval and just might have clipped that apron. We know those cars on the inside can get really dancy in that tri-oval. So whenever he hit that, it could have easily caused him to lose the back end there and get it just loose enough that once he hit the grass, it sent him the rest of the way around. So
Yeah,
could see more accidents like that tonight.
Yeah, it looks like he took about 4 minutes and 18 seconds of repairs. So probably repaired as much as he possibly could that caution here, but it looks like it's going to put him, I believe, 2 laps down. We'll see where the running order shakes up. Actually, I take it back. His time's not changing, so he may have actually already retired for the night. So unfortunate for him for sure, but we will get back to the action here. Lap number 31 will be in the books. We will be working on lap number 32 as we throw the green flag for Gabe Butler, and a lot of the Team Bootnaka Esports guys here up in the front. With this restart, we will have Gabe Butler, Joe Delevecchia, Gary Sipinski, and J.D. Crow, your top 4, followed by B.K. Anderson, Eric Laurie, Vicente Guerrero, Sebastian Marin, Keith Horner, and David Overstreet as your top 10 as we get rolling here. Beautiful shot down into turn number 1. Gabe Butler will lead the field to the green flag.
But not for long. A very unorganized start through the pack. We saw them very spaced out. Cars not tightened up like they needed to be, and that really affects this draft. That let Gabe Butler get out a little bit ahead, but with that inside lane so spaced out and the outside being a little bit tighter, we see that momentum shift down the backstretch, that 052. He's wanting to come and say, hey, I may not be here in the playoffs, but I'm here to race and I'm here to make a name here. He wants to get a W for the season, so he's definitely going to be running hard up here. And we see these guys running through 3 and 4.
Yeah, it's definitely that balance of, I'm not a playoff driver, but I still want to get a chance to get up there and make a name for myself, maybe get a win for the season. So kind of have to balance that respect of, letting the playoff drivers do what they need to do versus also trying to get a chance to, still be able to win a race for yourself.
Absolutely. And Boomer, on a side note here, some drivers I was watching coming into these playoffs to kind of maybe be a dark horse just because they've been up front, but they really haven't pulled off the wins and the finishes just yet. Look who's finally gotten lined up. It's took them the whole race, but the 32 and the 14 are now bumper to bumper right behind the 78 and the 1. They're in good company, and we know how much speed that 32 and 14 truck have had this season. Oh, and they got one of the best pushers on Thursday nights behind them in the 37. So look for that inside lane. If those 3 stick together, that could be a power horse of a team here, and that also could be a winning combination tonight if they decide to stick together to the end.
Yeah, definitely some experienced guys there running in the outside line behind some of the Team Bootnaka Esports guys. Definitely looking for BK Anderson to continue his good night, as well as Vicente Guerrero been running very strong. Like I said, most of our playoff drivers have been in the top 10 just about all night long here. Has been a great night so far for some of them. Obviously, unfortunately, Dean Wilkinson having to burn his first fast repair, but so far still continuing to stick with his team strategy of staying in the back. Obviously, Todd Siebels and Dean Wilkinson sitting in 23rd and 24th. You see them kind of single file behind the rest of the pack there. So they're just kind of hanging out. TW, kind of their mantra, their mentality, always trying to save the car as much as they can and get to the front when it counts. Obviously, didn't work out a ton so far for Dean Wilkinson getting that damage from the spinning 08 of Bob Fitzgerald, but so far looking to keep with the team strategy and keep that teamwork locked up and line nose to tail.
Absolutely. And, one thing I'm thinking of, part of me was like, man, after you get the X incident there, why not go ahead and race your way up through the field and get up there and mingle? Because what do you got to lose at that point? But I look at when we pitted. I look at the lap we restarted. We are going to be tight. Some guys, if they could really throttle back, if they could save a lap or two, as we see Bud Steele looks to go off track and pulling back on going into turn one, kind of got loose in that tri-oval. But if we see these guys really, really, really save fuel well but still stay with the pack, they could possibly milk it enough to make one stop. Possibly. It would be a big stretch, but they could do it if they saved hard the whole rest of the race.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see so far. For sure. It's definitely, like we said, kind of a weird stopping point. You'd probably have to save maybe 5 additional laps just to make it the rest of the way based on the current fuel mileage that these trucks are getting so far. So if you get another caution, I think it's absolutely feasible to make it on, would that be one more stop, I believe?
Yes, and my thought too was we saw guys even under green from the get-go make it 20 laps before they had to come down pit road. So if we restarted, we were on 31 coming to 32, I believe, for the restart, if I'm correct. 32 goes to 52, 52 goes to 72. That's only 3 laps total out of the 2 runs. If you saved a lap and a half per run, you could just squeak it to the finish line on one stop. I completely understand you, Boomer. Been doing the same, my friend. But absolutely, so we see these guys running down the short chute here into turn one, back to the action. We see this pack has really tightened itself back up. They didn't have the restart they needed, but look how organized the 2 lanes are. Team Bootknocker, though, still trying to have what I call a dominant night, not letting anybody else really lead any laps. And not a lot of movement. But we do see a truck here that's just kind of in the shadows. He's not one of our playoff drivers here, but definitely trying to make some noise. That 54 of Kyle Heath really been slowly and methodically working his way up through the field. And I know some of the teammates he runs with on Monday nights, when he runs with me, I know he's got a pretty big team over there. But over here on Thursdays, I don't know that he might not just be a lone ranger trying to fit in here. Don't exactly know who he runs with on Thursdays, but he has been making good progress slowly but steadily through the race. So we see him making it 5th in line right behind good company and Sebastian Marin. So definitely a lot of heavy hitters up here in the top 10, Boomer. They're racing hard for sure.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Definitely so far a good night for Kyle Heath as well as Keith Horner. Some of the guys up in the top 10 that aren't necessarily in the playoffs, but are still, again, like we said, trying to make a name for themselves or trying to get a nice chance to get a nice W. It's always good to win. I mean, it doesn't even matter if you are or are not in the playoffs. It's always a good feeling for sure. So these guys are going to be trying really hard. And also, Joe Delevecchia, we kind of glossed over him a little bit, maybe mentioned him a little bit before too, but he's running really strong up there at the front of this field with the rest of his teammates surrounding him. So big night for him so far. Obviously, typically right in the mix there with his teammates, but not one of the guys that made it to the playoffs. So good for him to be having a nice solid night. And I'm actually looking through there, I think I noticed Vicente Guerrero actually had a little bit of damage on the hood of that truck. Yeah, it looks like he's got a little bit of damage so far. So I don't know if that was just a little bit of checkup or from an earlier incident or what, but just noticing now. So interesting for him. The beautiful, beautiful black Budweiser car or truck, I should say here. Love that paint scheme. So be interesting to see if when him and Gary Sipinski are going to elect to fix their damage here. As you mentioned, those fast repairs so important here. You do only get one of them for the night. Unlike in the real world, it's nice to have one of them, but you do only get one, so only one mistake for the night.
Absolutely. And the 14 might have just a smidge of damage, but I don't think it's near as bad as the 78. The 78's been able to run up their second truck in line. These things are pretty durable when they're in the draft. Vicente may have just, like you said, had a little checkup issue and just barely got into somebody. Doesn't look like it's going to hurt him at all. I don't even know that he would have to repair it to even be contending to run up front. But if he gets the opportunity toward the end, I'm sure under his last pit stop, he'll go ahead and take that if he feels that the racing is safe. But you never know. I mean, we could make that last pit stop of the night and then have a wreck with maybe under 10 to go that you would be begging to have that fast repair just to get back out there and scramble any points you can get. But a fairly clean night so far, only one caution. And really, it was kind of a single car incident, I would call it. Just kind of got loose in the tri-oval and went and wrecked toward that infield to bring out our first yellow. But these guys are being mighty cordial for race one of the playoffs, but I think once we get to about 15 and 10 to go, everything like that goes right out the window, Boomer.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I do want to mention, it does look like we've had Bud Steele in and out of the pits the last couple laps, so not entirely sure. I'll keep an eye on him real quick. He's coming back out onto the racing surface, so not entirely sure what's going on with him tonight, but definitely maybe some technical issues or what, I'm not sure. Just trying to repair some damage, but not the night that he was looking to have for sure. We do also have Charles Sanchez on pit road. Didn't see any issues come up with him. Oh, that's right. He was on the opposite fuel strategy, so unfortunately not going to pay off for him. He is going to have to pit early. Remember, he stayed out to get a lap back after that last caution. And unfortunately, not getting another caution in time to get back on the same fuel strategy as the rest of the field. There really isn't anyone on any different strategy. There really is just the one strategy of the entire pack so far. So unfortunate for Charles, he will have to pit out of sequence a little bit here and continue to be one lap down.
Absolutely. And, I don't blame him a bit for trying to get that lap back and then try to catch that early yellow because cautions typically breed cautions. But as you can see here, the pack can see him in their sights, and it ain't going to take them but maybe a half lap before they swallow him whole because this is a very stout, very strong pack. I mean, we're running almost 190 miles an hour going off into these corners, and there it is, him getting swallowed up by this pack of cars. But as they come to the start-finish line, we see a very familiar face running up front. But, these guys up front, they have swapped around so much, I don't really know who's going to get that most laps led. We may have to look at that at the end of the race, Boomer, to see who got that valuable bonus point to go into next week. But definitely what got what I would call all our very heavy, strong hitters, guys that I know week in and week out have an absolute great chance to win. This is probably one of our more competitive packs right now. Just so many guys up front that if they just made the right move right now could easily get to the front here. Typically throughout our races, we've had a lot of guys sprinkled out on different strategies and things, but definitely just got our season-long strong contenders, strong finishers up here running in this front pack. This will be interesting when we get down to the end to see who can win this one.
Yeah, so we'll try to take you through a little bit of this here. Most of these guys here are in this first pack. So obviously we got Gabe Butler currently leading, Gary Sipinski, Joe Delevecchia, BK Anderson, and JD Crow here in the top 5. We do also have Vicente Guerrero, Eric Laurie, Keith Horner, Sebastian Marin, and Randy Miner rounding out the top 10. So they are... most of the guys, I think all the way through 21st, are sitting in this pack. So Kyle Heath, James Moen, Dan Harrington, Tom Dixon, and Jimmy Crow Jr. currently in the top 15. Les Levy, David Overstreet, Robert DuPont, Robert Jordan, and Jay Hillard in the top 20. And I believe it does look like we have Dean Wilkinson. We'll zoom in here just a second just to make sure. Yep, that's Dean Wilkinson in the end, at the end, tail end of this lead pack. So just kind of staying quiet after the early incident. So we do have to go all the way back another, I believe, 8 seconds behind the leader. Excuse me, Robert Rock and Todd Siebel's teammates, a couple of the TW Motorsports guys hanging back here with Richard and Charles Sanchez, who again are now scored 1 lap down both. But definitely unfortunate for Todd Siebels here in the number 45 truck. He is one of our playoff contenders who is currently just riding in the back. He's quite a bit of ways off of this pack, again, about 7 seconds behind Dean Wilkinson in 21st, who was again the last car in the lead pack. So unfortunate for him to be back so far, but luckily he does have a slew of teammates all around him. We see the Sanchez brothers there side by side on the racetrack. So if you're going to be that far off the pace, at least it's better to be with a bunch of teammates, I'd guess. So maybe a little bit not too unfortunate for him, but would like to be up in this front pack probably, I would assume.
Absolutely, and looking at lap times, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like they're almost a second a lap off of this lead pack right now. They were 8.5 seconds back last time by. Now they're 9.5 seconds back this time. It is not going to take them long before these leaders catch them, but we do see the 07 of Robert DuPont heading down pit road all by himself. Don't know if there's a problem there or not. Saw him blinking just a little bit. Maybe it could be internet issues, but lonely trip down pit road for him. But these guys up front are running hard, and I'm seeing these guys really work their way to the front. Look at them all trying to mess around.
Ooh, they got a little bit loose on the 071 there.
I think that was him trying to come down following the 5 and just followed a little too hard. But Sebastian Marin is going to try to push him and the 071 plumb clear these teammates. They're going to check up. They all want to be on that inside lane, and that was a beautiful way to pull that off. Now Kyle Heath leading that outside lane all by himself. This is where he wished he had some teammates here to run with. These guys are getting ready in the next couple laps to make some pit stops.
Yeah, for sure. And it's definitely helpful to be able to check up the guys in front of you when they're all teammates. There's 6 Team Butanaki Esports, nose to tail, all the way down on that inside lane. So definitely a little bit lonely for the 54 on the outside there, all by himself pretty much. Looks like he may, I believe that's the 82 of Dan Harrington is behind him. So those guys either need to get down, or they'll probably be having to pit 1 lap later than everyone else are. Or who knows, maybe they'll just join the land rush towards pit road and pit as well. But yeah, as you said, Robert DuPont, the only one who has pitted so far. He is now about 38 seconds behind this lead pack, so he is going to hopefully cycle out somewhere ahead of these guys, but probably not because he is lost the draft. But it looks like all the Team Butanaka guys and some of the TW Motorsports guys all going to make their way down pit road here. A little bit of a land grab. Sebastian Marin absolutely killing it. I mean, he is incredible as far as getting onto pit road. I think he gained like 3 or 4 spots even over his teammates there. So hopefully he doesn't slide through his box this time and gets a chance to get back up to that lead. Looks like a clean... Oh, Gabe Butler tries to lock up. Oh, he's actually short that time, the 23.
Man, 23 is doing so good getting on pit road, but in compensation, he's having trouble getting in his box. So don't know what that is. Going to still pull out with the lead of this pack, though, with all of his teammates. No harm, no foul there. Looks like a lot of fuel-only stops here. Some of these guys are riding that yellow line, and they better be careful not to cross it. That will be a penalty if they come across it. But here comes the next pack down pit road, and they're kind of brake checking and stopping early, and it's really kind of slowing a lot of them down here. But here they come to try to get their pit stops in.
Yeah, so this time it's BK Anderson, Kyle Heath, David Overstreet, Vicente Guerrero, Keith Horner, and Dan Harrington leading the charge down pit road. Couple slides as they get into the box there, but it looks like everyone's going to get down and away and get their service. We will see where these guys end up. There's only a 6-car pack here, 6-truck pack that ended up pitting this time by. Sebastian Marin will be leading our main pack here. We'll see how it all shakes up. Looks like they're a little bit broken up here in the front pack. There's really 2 that have kind of split away, and that's Sebastian Marin and Joe Delevecchia. So we'll see how these guys merge back in and make their way back into into one line, hopefully, or probably join the rest of the pack as we see the guys that have pitted this last time by starting to make their way out on the racing surface. So I would definitely think that the 23 of Sebastian Marin is going to inherit this lead. You'll see probably the 32 of BK Anderson, not really much to do in the line that he has there, as the rest of the field is quite up to speed. So hopefully these guys stay pretty quiet and can merge pretty nicely, and we've got one nice big pack again.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you who the big winner under these green flag pit stops was. Do you notice who is now running in our top 10? 55 truck of Dean Wilkinson, been in the back most of the time. Lap 52 here, starting lap 53. He knows time is short. It's time to get up to the front. He is now ready to mingle with some of these leaders and see if he can't go after this playoff race here with these guys.
Yeah, so we see some of the TW Motorsports guys, Randy Miner, Dean Wilkinson, and who was it? Is it Les Levy, I believe, on the team? They're all nose to tail on that inside line, it looks like. Yeah, they're just lined up there, just trying to get in the mix here. And I apologize, it's Jay Hillard there, one of the TW Motorsports guys, lined up nose to tail. So trying to get Dean Wilkinson back up into the mix. Todd Siebels is still unfortunately about 11 seconds back in that pack with Robert Rock and now Robert DuPont. So unfortunately, Robert DuPont pitting all by himself and has cycled him back into the pack, unfortunately.
Absolutely, and I'm telling you, without a caution, those guys are up a creek without a paddle. But we even have another two-car group here, the 82 and the 70. They're about 2.5 seconds off this lead pack, and I don't know that they're going to have enough momentum to really catch back up. We'll have to wait and see how timing and scoring comes out here, but man, very, very interesting what's going on here tonight. Some of this pack, as we do green flag pit stops, is starting to drop off little by little.
Yeah, and we will have way more than... So everyone pitted last on either lap 50 or 51, so there's going to be no way that anyone's going to be able to make it all the way, unfortunately. So have to pit one more time for fuel at least. Like you mentioned, Maxwell, there's definitely quite a bit of the last pit stops just for fuel only. Not a lot of people probably electing to take tires, maybe a couple 10 and 12-second pit stops there. Maybe suggestion that they might have taken right sides only just for a little bit of handling, but for the most part, not taking 4 tires, just trying to pack it full of fuel and get as far as you can to the end, knowing that you got one more short stop that you're going to have to make.
Absolutely. And, as we start this run, you may not think it, but we've got a lot of things to watch right now. We have to watch how these guys start this run. Who's going to try to lead a bunch of laps and who's going to quietly ride and try to save fuel. Remember, this race, if it stays green to the end, can be won on pit road tonight. These guys are going to try to take the absolute least amount of fuel they have to. They are going to have to pit again, but look for guys, I'd say, honestly, we're at 20 to go. Some of these guys may try to come this time and go ahead and top them off. That way they can make it. Or they may come a lap or two later to get some green, white, checkered insurance. But the more fuel they can save right here, the less time they're going to be on pit road with that one can. And even if it's a half second to a second, that can be 2 to 3 seconds on track.
Yeah, it ends up making a lot of difference eventually. So we'll see who is going to try and take fuel early or if they're going to try and take it late. But one thing is for sure, Dean Wilkinson is absolutely making a climb. We're going to ride on board here. He is now the 3rd truck in the outside lane. So he is making his way towards the front of the... Oh, the 7 gets turned by the 62! Oh, this is chaos. This is chaos.
This took a lot of playoff drivers out, too, it looks like.
Wow.
What a wreck, man. I mean, just... happened so quick. I just caught the tail end of it there, Boomer, on your side of things.
Wow.
Just saw the tail end, but
that's going to take the
very few
55
people
out of it.
Oh, man. And he was running so strong, had just made his way up there where he needed to be, thought he was making all the moves right. It's where I would have been if I was him. Just an unfortunate start to the event tonight. Yeah, he's got motor damage. That's going to be it for one of our playoff drivers.
All right, let's see if we can watch here. It looks like the 7 was getting a very hard push from behind. Try and grab a view of it here. Looks like what's at the... Oh man, he just kind of gets hooked, I think. Wow, Gabe Butler's the only one that made that through that. That was a big hit for a lot of drivers, man. Wow, that's a tough one. Some of the guys in the back, I think. Keith Horner making some contact there. I think Vicente Guerrero got through that. Wow, driving all the way down to the apron. Doesn't look like he has a scratch other than the damage that we noted earlier. So that was huge for him to not collect any more damage. So I think with a couple laps left here, probably about 18, 19 laps left here, probably going to elect to take damage or take that final fast repair. But let's try and see if we can get maybe one more view of that crash here. Go back into slow motion. Looked like, again, it's a 62 truck, maybe pushing a little bit too hard. I guess we'll watch and see. Gets to the back bumper, kind of gives him a shove, maybe a little bit Brad Keselowski style in the Daytona 500. Unfortunately, just off a two there, and I mean, absolute chaos for just about everyone involved there at that point. Gary Sipinski riding the wall. Oh man, that's a lot of carnage. But all right, we will jump back live now. We do see everyone now is going to be taking fuel here at the end to get to the end, I should say. Looks like most people taking, actually Gabe Butler and Gary Sipinski only taking about 6.5 seconds worth of fuel. Sebastian Marin taking 9 seconds, whereas just about everyone else still on pit road here, trying to probably take, actually some people taking tires even, 14, 15-second pit stops. So interesting strategy here, but you know that you can make it all the way to the end, so this is the money stop.
Yes, and this is where things get even crazier. These guys can all make it on field. Nobody's going to be holding back. What is the point with 15 to go riding back in 20th when you know you can make it? There's nothing to save back there. There's nothing to do. If you wait till 5 to go, you're never going to get room to make the move. You're going to have to start going now. Now, here's my question. We've got guys in playoffs that all just got an incident. Gabe Butler has been leading a lot of laps and should have a 0x from that. Shouldn't have anything to do with it. A lot of his guys just lost 3 points apiece. What is he going to do? How is he going to manage the rest of this race? We know Gabe Butler is a champion in this series. He's one of the best, if not the best plate racer Area 51 has across Thursdays and Sundays. So how does he manage this first playoff race knowing so many people had an unfortunate incident? And on the other side of things, these guys that had their wrecks, what do they got to lose? They can beat, bang, and rough it up now if it means getting a win. And getting a win can make up those 3 bonus points that they lost. So definitely going to have tons of different strategies here. And we're going to see how it all plays out. And if that 5 beat the pace car, he just might have.
Say, wow, that was aggressive. Getting off
that
pit
is
road
how
there.
You cut it close.
Wow. Yeah, him and Les Levy now leaving pit road. Each spent about 3.5 minutes on pit road repairing damage. So I don't know if JD already took his fast repair or if he's just trying to repair as much as he can. But unfortunate implications again for another playoff driver. We do also have Dean Wilkinson. He is actually able to make most of his repairs. Looks like this last pit stop was only for 7.5 seconds. So fortunate enough that truck looks pretty good. I don't know. Maybe he did save his fast repair and isn't actually out of this race just yet. If that's the case, then that's 2 incidents now that he has been able to survive. And hopefully, well, he bounced back from them so far. So we'll see if he can continue to bounce back again from this second incident. So big deal for him. It looks like he is being scored 1 lap down, though. So unfortunately, he will be 1 lap down with his teammate Charles Sanchez. And just based on the scoring right now, it shows Les Levy, JD Crow, and Jay Hillard also 1 lap down, but I know it gets kind of goofy under caution. So we'll jump back up to the leaders here who are now double file, getting ready to go. The pace car will pull on to pit lane, and Gabe Butler will lead us back into green through the Geico restart zone, back underway again, working with 15 laps to go here in the first race of the playoffs.
Absolutely, and it's amazing to say that our top 10 looks very similar to what it was before the wreck, even though we saw all these guys smoking and flipping and everything else. But top 10 guys take off okay, but again, a lot of disorganization through the pack. Look at the big gaps we've got here. That's going to cause some massive runs. A lot of guys are going to shake it up. Probably we'll start seeing 3 wide now at this point, as guys know they just have to make a move. But look at the 78. Speaking of making a move, he's going to take advantage of one of the best pushers in the field, and he's going to try to take the lead after that unfortunate incident. He said, forget it. I know I've lost those points. I'm going to make them up with a win.
Yeah, that 37 truck very, very happy on the outside lane as usual. Very good pusher here in this league. Looks like he's going to try and give one of the Team Bootnaka guys, Gary Sipinski, a chance to break away and get to the front of this pack. Gary Sipinski leading the outside lane, and Gabe Butler leading the inside lane, currently 2 of our playoff drivers. So we'll take a quick chance to run through the field with the playoff drivers. In 8th place, we do have the 32 of BK Anderson right now. Eric Laurie in 10th. There should be 4 of our playoff drivers. We do also have Vicente Guerrero on the lead lap, sitting back here in 15th place, now 16th place. Todd Siebels, who has kind of laid low all race long, is now up to 18th position, as it does look like Joe Delevecchia is going to jump down onto pit lane. So we do have JD Crow 1 lap down, one of our playoff drivers, as well as Dean Wilkinson, who is also back on pit road. So unfortunately for them, going to be a bit of a rough one for points tonight, and Dean making his way back out onto the racetrack after 34 seconds. So I wonder if he might have had a penalty for passing under yellow or something, if that's a 30-second penalty.
I'm assuming a couple guys here had some penalties. Could have definitely been something with all those wrecked race trucks and when they came on pit road. And the league has a rule. I mean, no black flags cleared, and that's no exceptions. It doesn't matter. Even if people don't catch up, you have to wait for those trucks. But some guys must have took the risk thinking, hey, I want to stay on the lead lap. But in all reality, coming down for that's just going to cause a lot more problems there, because I think that's what the 052 maybe had to come down for too. Yes, was a black flag penalty.
I'm looking at SDK, and Joe Delevecchia only took 3.18 seconds in the pit box, so I'm not sure exactly what that was for. Yeah, Dean Wilkinson, a 34-second stop, so I believe that'd be a 30-second penalty. A couple other guys coming down, so could have been some issues with getting back to getting back lined up properly, and a couple of passing under yellow penalties. Unfortunately, there could have been assessed. So, but we are working on 12 laps to go. To be 11 laps to go this time by at the stripe. Gabe Butler continues to lead that inside lane with his teammate Sebastian Marin right behind him. Again, our current reigning champion, who is not in the playoffs, but still looking to get another race win under his belt for the season. Gary Sipinski in the outside lane, also being pushed by Keith Horner, who is also a driver not in the playoffs as well. So a couple guys up here running really well here in the top 5. Sebastian Marin, Keith Horner, and Robert Jordan, all outside of the playoffs so far, but Gabe Butler and Gary Sipinski trying to...
And we've got a wreck in the back.
We have a wreck in the back.
Another playoff driver involved.
Let's see if we can get a shot of this one. Looks like Tom
Looked
Dixon.
Like the 14 was involved, for sure.
Okay, we'll take a chance here. Head on back. Riding on board, Tom Dixon, oh, wow. Yeah, just kind of going for the same spot, maybe. Tom Dixon in the 411 truck, and the 14 of Vicente Guerrero. Let's see.
Did that look like the 14 came up?
Yeah, let me see. Let's see if we can get a better shot of that real quick. Pause it just for a second if you guys
maybe right on board with that 14.
Yeah, let's do that. I like that idea. Let's see if we can get our ducks in a row here. All right, Vicente and the roof camera. We'll go back just a touch here, and we'll watch them as they enter into turn number 3 here. So definitely kind of... You can definitely get a good suck up in this middle lane if you're kind of coming from the back to the front. So I don't know if that's what Vicente is trying to do here, trying to get towards the front of the pack. But you can kind of see he's got to run on the inside lane at least. And kind of just looks like the 411 and the 14 maybe the 411 probably about half lane down where he might have needed to be, but yeah, unfortunate for Vicente. A little bit of contact there. I don't think that's going to be enough to really hurt him too bad, but just maybe a little bit of a racing incident there, and unfortunately getting raced a little bit hard being one of the playoff drivers, but it's still part of it. Everyone in this field is still trying to make their way towards the front and try to win this race tonight.
Absolutely, and you can't make matters worse when you've already had a bad thing happen. So I know about that middle lane. I love that middle lane. It's my favorite place to run, believe it or not. I love making those power moves through there. But I've had to learn, especially, and nothing against Area 51, but the way a lot of these guys in this particular league race, that middle always closes up, no matter what.
Yeah.
So there's just not a lot of situational awareness in these end of the races with that middle lane. If you had like maybe a Coke Series type event with a lot of professional drivers, could be different with that middle lane. You could make it work, but in this league, you've kind of got to account for guys are going to come down in the corners. But definitely, like you said, a lot of suck up there, a lot of good time to be made there, but that's the risk you take.
Yeah, for sure. So, looks like he does have a little bit of a damage. I don't think it's going to be a ton, and fortunately for him, with all the other playoff drivers having issues tonight, Vicente should be still in a decent spot, currently sitting 14th. JD Crow is currently getting service down on pit road, trying to repair more of that car as much as possible. Dean Wilkinson is rolling back in the pack again. He is, I believe, currently 1 lap down. We'll see if it will cycle back through on the ticker or not, to see if we can see how many laps down. Unfortunately, with SDK, yes. Okay, so yeah, so Wilkinson has currently scored 2 laps down as it sits, as we are rolling under caution here. So probably going to lock him into that 24th place spot. We're probably going to see JD Crow, up and away, trying to maintain that 1 lap down designation, as he is going to catch up to the back of the pack here. Currently, again, still being led by the one truck of Gabe Butler. Gary Sipinski is going to jump to his outside here on the restart. Sebastian Marin, second car inside lane, and Keith Horner, second car outside lane. So that order stays the same for now. We are going to be restarting here. Pace car lights off with 7 laps to go, and it's go time, is it not, Maxwell?
It is absolutely go time. I think it was go time when I said it was earlier about lap 15. We saw the aggression ramp up a little bit, but one thing we have not seen all night long, and I'm actually dumbfounded and surprised by it. I'm really shocked we have not seen someone take that third lane. I think it's fair game at this point. If you're someone like Eric Laurie or BK Anderson back there, maybe 4 or 5 rows deep, you're going to move up to that third lane and you're going to floor it, and you're just not going to care. You're going to have to take every bit of momentum with as few of the laps as we have and try to race your way up to the front of this pack. Someone has got to take control over the 78 and the 1, or they're going to race it out amongst themselves. We've not seen a whole lot of passing up front as far as different people leading at different times. Has been pretty organized. I look for it now to be crazy. But if we have one more restart too, where the pack is unorganized and everybody is really split up and not packed up tight, it's going to cause some massive runs to come from the back, and that could even cause another yellow.
All right, so we're going to try and give you a quick update on the playoff drivers. Obviously, we got Gabe Butler and Gary Sipinski first and second right now. BK Anderson is sitting in the 7th position. Eric Laurie in the 9th position. Vicente Guerrero is sitting 12th. We do also have Todd Siebels in the 45 and 15th on the lead lap. And JD Crow 1 lap down, Dean Wilkinson 2 laps down in 23rd and 24th, as we see the number 1 truck of Gabe Butler leading them back to the field. Looks like there's still a little bit of a separation from these top 2 guys in each lane, but not as bad as the last restart. Probably get a little bit more organized here as we get back up to it. So looks like it's Robert Jordan, 3rd car on the inside line, and Kyle Heath, 4th car on the inside line. On the outside, Jimmy Crow Jr. and BK Anderson are lined up, and that will be your top 8 Randy Miner and Eric Laurie make up your top 10 as they run. Coming to the stripe this time by will be 6 laps to go. Again, trying to get a win for everyone in the field, but especially for that 1 and 78 truck up in the front who've been controlling the better part of the last half of this race, trying to get a win in the playoffs and pad that championship standings points bonus.
Absolutely. We see the racing up front here, Boomer. Super tight. 78 versus the 1. I know there's teammates up here, but guess what? Teammates are out the window when we come to 6 laps to go here. I mean, these guys are all in the playoffs. They've got a race for themselves. Now, Sebastian Marin, he's probably just going to stick with that 1 and not really pull any funny business, but I don't know. At the same time, knowing Sebastian, he wants to win. If he thinks he can steal it from these guys, he's going to. And he told us that last week in his interview, right? So definitely got a lot on the line here. But that 78 is not wanting to give it up. He's had so much bad luck. He wants to make it right tonight. I tell you, he's got one of the better pushers in the field right there behind him. But Sebastian is also equally as good. So this is going to be a race all the way down to the last lap.
This will be exciting for sure. Do have a couple guys chiming in the chat. Obviously, Kevin Freese mentioning there were a ton of black flags back there on that last previous restart, and David Overstreet mentioning that he did get a black flag for some issues, I believe a passing under yellow issue, so he is out, and looks like he's watching the broadcast, so we appreciate you at least tuning in, David. Unfortunate that your night has ended so early, but he mentioned that the second lane is drifting way too high. Unfortunately, to get that third line going here and at Daytona, it's a very, very tight track. I know we've mentioned multiple times on these broadcasts that this track is only 40 foot wide, whereas Talladega is 48 feet wide. It looked like Vicente Guerrero was going to try and jump up there, but thought better of it. We're going to work here with 4 laps to go. See if anyone can make anything happen for this 1 and this 78 car who have been controlling every bit of this last half of the race.
Absolutely. And, if I'm going to see somebody try to go up there and run with him, I think it's going to be that 14 since the restart. He's looked back at the middle again. He's looked at the top. Here he goes, trying to look for the middle again. DuPont's going to block him. He's going to have to go to the third lane and just hope somebody goes with him, but almost contact up front. There goes the 14, going to go 3 wide. Will anybody go with him? He's a fast truck. The 071 of Eric Laurie's going to go with him. And Joe Delevecchia, those are 3 strong trucks. Let's watch them the next couple laps. I'm assuming they're going to get right up to the front at that wall.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes here. Definitely a bit of a pack here starting to develop here for the first time tonight. We've got that third lane starting to work. Oh, there was only one a little bit squirrely there off the bumper of the 14. Maybe touched the wall just a little bit, but man, these cars, especially the 7. 7's going to try and drift up into the outside. Ooh. 071 might be into the outside lane there as a 7 tries to drift up just in front of him to join him in that outside lane. Still making it work, though. Go ahead.
Yes, but this is some really intense racing. But I'm telling you, man, I've got my eye on the 14. He is the one that is just chomping at the bit, trying to make moves, driving hard into 3. Here he is on the back bumper. Now that he gets out of the outside lane, it starts to get a little momentum, but they're kind of drifting back at this point. Coming to 2 to go. Who is going to make the move? We're not just going to finish 2 by 2 here, are we? We're going to have to see somebody go for this win.
We will see as we got 2 laps going now with the 1 still controlling the inside line and the 78 still controlling the outside. Still that 7 truck high on the outside trying to make something happen way, way, way out there all by himself now at this point. No one's really trying to make too much of an effort to get up into that outside lane. So if nothing happens, if no one can make that inside or that outside lane work, or if someone can try to squeeze through the middle, it's going to be pretty quiet here on this last lap. But the 2 teammates still side by side for the playoffs, in the playoffs, and racing for the win tonight. As we see BK Anderson's going to try and make his move to the outside lane, try and make something happen. See if Vicente Guerrero and Robert DuPont probably going to jump up there with him. This will be an exciting 1 lap to go as Gabe Butler leads them to the white flag.
Absolutely. I was waiting to see someone's got to make that work, and I knew the 14 would go with them because they're teammates. These guys, they just got to get the momentum built, but it's just not there tonight for some reason. But these guys are racing really hard. The 78's going to try to get a huge push down the backstretch. He's going to have to run the 1 tight if he wants to try to win this one. But here comes the 32.
32 is up to the third lane now, just outside of the 39 car. A little bit of squirreliness from the 32 and 07. That's going to kill their momentum on the outside. It's going to be down to the 1 and the 78 truck as they are going to make their way back to the stripe. Looks like as of right now, the advantage to the 78. They're going to wreck behind them, and it is going to be Gary Sipinski picking up the first win as chaos ensues behind.
Absolutely. What a wonderful way to turn that bad luck around with a W here tonight. Cannot wait to interview, and a little bias here, my teammate on Monday nights, Gary Sipinski, getting the win here. But something to point out, too, when these guys wrecked at the end, I saw contact to Gabe Butler. He didn't wreck, but I guarantee you he got the incident point because the guy that hit him ended up spinning.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a little bit squirrely there as the outside line kind of fell apart and then the middle lane kind of converged on the bottom. But big deal for Gary Sipinski and Gabe Butler controlling the end of this race, coming home 1 and 2. Definitely going to be a great advantage for them coming into the first round of the playoffs here tonight. 3 more races left to go, and looks like teammates going to celebrate there together for just a second. We're going to see the 78 of Gary Sipinski start to burn it down here at Daytona, here in the bright early morning, in the sunshine at the World Center of Racing. We're going to try and get these guys up here in just a second for a quick interview. So stay tuned. And yeah, Maxwell, I mean, this has been a fairly calm race up until just about the end here. What is your biggest take on tonight for the first race of the playoffs?
How calm it was. I mean, even at the end, we raced a little bit, but nothing like we've seen the first 8 races here. Still a great finish. I'm not saying anything about the finish itself, but I was really surprised that the third lane up top did not work better here toward the end of the race. Maybe 1 or 2 more trucks, and they could have really got it going. I think they needed to start it right at the beginning of the last run, though, really getting it working and getting that momentum built. But and another storyline, I think, and we'll have to look, I think every single playoff driver left here with an incident point tonight. So I think nobody gets that bonus point. I know for a fact Gabe Butler did indeed get a 4X right there at the start-finish line after running the whole race clean. So that was 3 bonus points lost right there. But he did lead 51 laps tonight, so he does have the most laps led bonus point to go into this championship. But a lot of these playoff guys, I mean, they're right up here at the top, and if they're all going to finish with X's, I'd like to be in Gary's spot, getting the win. That's definitely a few extra points that nobody else has.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Bonus points going to be so critical here towards the end of the race, of the season, I should say. And now we're going to get a chance to talk to some of those guys who capitalized on points for the night, starting with the 37 of Heath Horner. He is going to be our third place finisher for tonight in that beautiful Hooters truck. Always comfortable pushing on the outside, and made it work just about until the end there, and had a lot of opportunities to make your way through the field. Some good pushes towards the end there we saw, and after all the chaos, you were able to come home with a third place finish tonight. Keith, how'd it go?
Too bad. I kind of felt like I was real twitchy tonight for some reason, and I have to apologize to Sebastian there at the end, because the last thing I wanted to do was get involved with guys that were in the chase contention, or in the playoffs, I should say.
Yeah, definitely. Sebastian Marin, actually one of the drivers not in the playoffs, but the guys in front of you, Gary Sipinski and Gabe Butler, were. So how do you balance that, knowing that you're driving around some guys that are in the playoffs and some guys that are not, and you still want to try and get a win for yourself, right, on the season? So how do you balance that back and forth of trying to be respectful to those guys, but also trying to get a win when you can?
Definitely want to be respectful to the guys. I'm pretty comfortable behind Gary. I mean, that was like deja vu of week 1. If that was Talladega, I might have tried to go up to the third lane, but not at Daytona. I was just happy pushing him to the win.
Speaking of pushing there, Eric, I mean, I was calling all night. I've watched all season. I dare say you're one of the best pushers in the field that we have. But how do you do it every single time? And how hard did you have to push to get Gary up there to the victory tonight?
Well, there towards the end, I think my temperature gauge was flashing red for about the last 4 laps, so I was worried about blowing up. I was trying to not back off too far of him and screw up his chances at the win. But I don't know, just get behind them and hope for the best, really.
Yeah, definitely. Still a fortunate ending to your night, even though looks like team's going to have a little bit to do bodywork wise on that 37 truck before the next race next week, or excuse me, off next week, back in 2 weeks. But want to give you the floor tonight to give any thanks and shout outs for that podium place finish you've had tonight, Keith.
Thanks again to you guys, Area 51, for having me. I'm just out here for a good time. It's not about winning all the time, but it is nice every now and then.
Yeah, definitely for sure. So, Keith, our highest finisher of the non-playoff drivers tonight. So, definitely appreciate him getting a chance to talk to us, and I want to give him big congratulations for that third place finish. So, we do have a couple more interviews to get through here tonight. We are going to pull up the number one truck of Gabe Butler now, the second place finisher from Team Bootnaka Esports. So definitely a race that you were able to control for probably a better part of the last half there, Gabe. Take us through what was the team mentality of how you guys were able to really get up front and stay up front just about all night.
Real good pit stop strategy and good execution on the pit stops and great pushing by the guys. So, track position is really important here at Daytona, and I thought we did a good job. But great job by Gary there at the end, getting the win.
Absolutely. And Gary, or Gabe, sorry, we typically see you guys run up front, get a couple laps led, and then you drop to the back for a while. Try to save that fuel, try to wait it out to the end. But now that the playoffs are started, man, you went up there and led 51 of our 75 laps tonight. You just absolutely tried to dominate the race right from the get-go. Is that your strategy going into the next 3 weeks, is just be up front consistently? Or was that just maybe how tonight played out being Daytona?
Mainly just how tonight played out and being Daytona. Dega is a little bit different. You've got more opportunities to move forward, where here, like I said earlier, track position is real important. It's a little bit more difficult to get forward. So, could be a totally different strategy next week, or it might be the same. Don't know yet.
Yeah, definitely. Your team really has had a lot of opportunities to showcase its strength and teamwork abilities so far this season. So I believe there's I think 3 or 4 of you guys locked into the playoffs right now. So what do you think it's going to take for the rest of these playoffs for you or Gary or JD to stay up front, or Eric Laurie, your other teammate, to stay up front and try to capitalize and win this championship?
Just gotta try and have good pit stops. Be aware of who you're around and execute those pit stops, and just help each other out. I mean, whoever needs the help, then that's what we'll do. If somebody's in front of me and they're going for the win, and it's a teammate, I'll try my best to push them to the win. So, but overall, good night. Like I said, good win for Gary. The other fellow's a little bit unlucky, so hopefully they'll bounce back next week.
Yeah, definitely some bad luck for JD that we followed a little bit there during the broadcast. So, but fortunate for you and Gary, able to get up there and get a 1-2 finish for the team. So, I want to give you a chance now to have the floor and give any thanks and shout outs you'd like to give for tonight.
Big shout out to the team. Again, great job. You're nothing without your teammates here on the Super Speedway. And shout out to Area 51 for putting on the league and for you guys broadcasting the big show.
Awesome. Well, congratulations again, Gabe, on that second place finish for tonight. Appreciate you jumping back up here again for another interview. Obviously, we've had quite a few interviews with Gabe this season so far, 2 wins on the season, and probably going to put him second in the points, or maybe even first, depending on how the bonus points play out, but in good position for the rest of the season. So we are going to bring in his teammate, that 78 truck of Gary Sipinski. Now, Gary has his second win of the season. Hasn't won since the first race we had at Talladega on a bit of a fluke fuel strategy, but tonight it was all Team Bootnaka Esports for most of the race, and we've already talked to Gabe a little bit about the teamwork that you guys were able to work through. But take us through your vantage point in that 78 truck and how tonight played out for you, Gary.
Well, I was hoping to qualify just a little bit better there, and I didn't quite get why I wanted, but I wasn't going to beat, Sebastian there. He's pretty fast in qualifying, so I was hoping to get like the top 4 spots, and maybe I can just kind of stay up there. I like to be in those 4 areas right there, and maybe get out in front and just do what Gabe did and just lead every lap I can, but just couldn't quite get there until like just towards the end there. I got lucky in the pits and unlucky with one accident. I was riding on the wall, which totally didn't want to be there in that position, but luckily I didn't get on my lid. That would have been bad. So luckily I was back on all 4s, grab a gear, and luckily I was able to get in and out of that pits in that last caution there and set myself up to get the W.
Absolutely, and a W it is, man. A little bit of bias here. We're teammates on Monday night, so you know that I always try to pull for you to do well here on Thursdays. Got the win. Now, let's be honest. We know you've had some bad luck the past few weeks here on Thursday nights, and you're running up front tonight. We're calling that you're doing everything you need to, and then you have the big wreck happen. And, that really could have just took you right out of it there, especially when you had that damage early if you would have took the fast repair too quick. But luckily you didn't. You were able to repair it, get out there and go and get the win. So maybe the bad luck's out of the way. So with that being said, after the way tonight played out where you thought you might have been completely out of it and then you go out there and just prove everybody wrong, how do you run these next 3 weeks now? I mean, is this the strategy to stay up front, lead every lap, every single week, and forget about any fuel mileage in these races? Or is Talladega maybe going to be a completely different story for you?
Well, Talladega could be a totally different story, but I like to lead every lap and get up there and just run with my teammates and just I really like to get every points I can because points win championships, and that's always my plan, and that's always what I stuck with. But if it comes down to fuel, I will sacrifice and kind of just stay in behind the front 4, behind the first 2. That's the only place I would want to be as far as saving fuel. I don't like to be in the back, but if I had to, I will. If I get pushed back there, I will. But most of the time, I like to be up front and just try to lead everything, get all the points I can. That's always been my strategy. But I almost thought I did the same thing last week. I thought I took lefts, and all of a sudden, I seen the right side go up, and I was like, "Oh God, did I take 4 tires?" And luckily, I just took the right side. I was okay. Maybe I just hit the wrong button. Mental mistakes I cannot do, Max. I had a couple of those, too many this season. Max has been there to see it, but I need to focus and get. And pit lane has actually been the worst part for me, so I need to get in and out of pits better. Go on the racetrack, I do very well. Is that pit lane has been a jinx for me. So hopefully it's gone. It's done.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, the better luck continues for you. Obviously, a little bit of bad luck during the race, but good overall. I did ask the same question to your teammate in the one of Gabe Butler. You guys have had a lot of teamwork all season long, but what do you think that it's going to take to get a Team Bootnaka Esports driver into that championship and bring it back to Team Bootnaka? Obviously, with Sebastian Marin not being able to defend his title.
Well, he's definitely not there to help it, but we have some great drivers here. Gabe is just awesome, and I think if we could just stick together like we did, because it worked very well tonight. If we can just do this, we can bring one home for everybody for sure, because it can happen. The way it looks right there, we can definitely bring home a W for everybody out there.
Awesome deal. So we're watching Gary burn it down here after the race win tonight. So want to give you the chance to have the floor here and give any thanks and shoutouts you'd like for the second win of the season, first win in the playoffs.
Well, I'd like to thank you two guys out there for doing this. I know Max and yourself is doing a great job, and I appreciate it. I would like to thank GMC. I'd like to thank Area 51 for let me be out here doing this for everybody out here. I'd like to thank my family. let me doing this week in, week out, every day. Without them, their support, I wouldn't be out here right now. And I'd like to thank them for everything. And I love them and everybody out there. Thanks for watching.
Awesome deal. Well, thanks again, Gary, and congratulations again on your win tonight. Definitely hard-earned, a good team win, the 1-2 finish for Team Boonaka Esports. So we're going to take a chance here to go through the official placings as we pull these up. Our results for the evening. Again, Gary Sipinski, Gabe Butler, Keith Horner, we've already talked to. Our podium placings for tonight. Jimmy Crow Jr. holding on to that 4th place position, and Robert Jordan coming home in 5th. After the chaos in the last lap, Sebastian Marin is going to come home in the 6th position with BK Anderson in 7th, Richard Sanchez in 8th, Kyle Heath in 9th, and Vicente Guerrero in 10th place. So not too bad for some of our playoff drivers, and Gary, Gabe, BK, and Vicente to get a top 10 for the night. Robert DuPont is the first car outside of the top 10 in 11th, followed by Randy Miner, Dan Harrington, and another playoff driver of Eric Laurie in 14th with James Moen. Rounding out the top 15, Charles Sanchez tonight finishes 16th with another playoff driver, Todd Siebels, in 17th, and a teammate of his, Robert Rock, in 18th. Going to the next page of the results here, the last page of the results here, we will see Joe Delevecchia brings it home in 19th and Tom Dixon in 20th, last car on the lead lap. So Jay Hillard, Les Levy, and our JD Crow in 23rd. Obviously, JD and Dean Wilkinson, 2 of our playoff drivers that had probably the biggest struggles of the evening. Definitely not going to be happy with that 23rd or 24th place position, but still time to bounce back from that depending on where the rest of the playoff drivers finish. But definitely looking for those guys to almost need to win at least once, maybe twice, to consider themselves back into this playoff race. So we documented some of the struggles for Bud Steele in the 6 truck, and finishing 9 laps down in 25th. David Overstreet finishing in 26th, and Bob Fitzgerald in 27th after the multiple incidents he was involved in. Jason Adams, obviously we highlighted his issues with his computer shutting off right before the race starts, unfortunately, and Andy Brigante electing not to grid, not after entering the race tonight. So that will be the field placings for tonight. Definitely a lot of fun here. I definitely always enjoy being back live here at the Green White Checker TV and the Area 51 Truck Super Speedway Series. So definitely appreciate you as well, Maxwell. So give us a chance. Do you have any final thoughts for the evening, Maxwell?
What an interesting start to the first playoff race, right? I mean, the thing started off so calm. You even mentioned a couple times that we were not running out of things to commentate about, but there just wasn't much going on to talk about other than pit stops and different things. But once we got toward the end of the race, we saw some big crashes that really shook up these playoffs in race 1 here. And man, you've got guys, JD Crow, Dean Wilkinson, they've got a mighty hill to climb up. But luckily for people, there's no 3-point advantage. Looking through the field, seems like every single playoff driver, believe it or not, had some sort of incident tonight. I don't even know if any driver at all. It looks like one driver in the field of Robert DuPont had 0 X's, and every other driver had an incident of some kind. So definitely didn't have to worry about those bonus points tonight. But Gabe Butler, going to have to watch him if that's how he's going to run each and every week. 51 laps led, finished in 2nd. It wouldn't shock me a bit to see that he's our points leader. But Gary getting the win, though, could put it close to maybe even a tie up front. So definitely got to watch for that. But, man, these Team Bootknocker guys, they work nice now, but I'm telling you, when it comes down to it, they're all competitors. They're going to be at each other's throats trying to get that win. And I know how strong our 8 playoff drivers are. And we saw the 14, right? Even after many incidents, he still tried to race his way up there and get a top 10. So I would not count him out. Still waiting for that breakout win. BK Anderson there in 7th. These guys are going to have a chance. That team there. I don't think anybody's truly out of it right now except for maybe Dean Wilkinson and TW Motorsports there. Todd Siebels in 17th. That's a pretty hard finish to have. And JD Crow, those three guys, I'm really looking to have super bounce back weeks. They're going to have to get up there and lead. But man, action packed there at the end. What a night here at Daytona. Let's take a nice break next week, and then let's head off to Talladega and see some 3 wide action again and see how that factors into the finish.
Yeah, so as we mentioned, we are going to have 1 week off here on the calendar. So June 30th, I believe, will be next week. We will have an off week before we move back on July 7th to Talladega Super Speedway. So we'll alternate back and forth between Daytona and Talladega to finish finish the season, after tonight's the first race of the chase. So again, those top 8 drivers, as we mentioned, still gunning for that championship, and it's going to be a lot of fun to cover that. Back in 2 weeks, 3 more races to go. Plenty more opportunities to either extend that points lead for Gary and Gabe, or for guys like BK Anderson and Vicente Guerrero to catch up. And obviously, we've mentioned some struggles for some of the guys in the playoffs as well that are going to have to be just about perfect for the rest of the season if they want to hoist that championship trophy at the end of it. But for Maxwell Caldwell and myself, Boomer Logan, really excited to bring you guys this action tonight, and look forward to being back with you guys next week. Make sure to tune in. We still have all of our other series here in Area 51 and in covered by Green White Checkered TV. So we will have the Sunday night Xfinity Super Speedway series coming up next. Next week we've got Monday night the Next Gen series, and the Tuesday IndyCar series will all be in action. So definitely looking forward to have you guys stick around and still catch the action of those other series. Every series other than the IndyCar series working on their own version of the playoffs, or the chases we'd like to call it here. So definitely tune in to that action and follow up with us for the next 4 weeks as we watch and try to capture who is going to come down to the championship in all 4 of our series. So again, for myself, Boomer Logan, and Maxwell Caldwell calling the race with me tonight, really appreciate you guys stopping by. Hope you all have a great rest of your week, and cannot wait to see you back on Thursday night in 2 weeks. Have a great night, everyone.